In the quiet month of April in 1912, more than 2,200 travelers stepped aboard what was then the largest moving object ever created by human hands. It floated like a palace drifting across the water, layered in crystal, mahogany, silver, and the soft glow of electric lights. For the wealthiest passengers, life aboard the Titanic was an unbroken stream of Edwardian luxury, each moment shimmering with comfort and elegance. An experience meant to feel as steady and unshakable as time itself, and yet this grand world was slowly, silently drifting toward an unimaginable end. Before we go further, if the sound of old stories helps you settle into rest or lets your mind soften just a little, feel free to subscribe. These sleepy journeys are always here for you, and while we begin settling into this story, I can't help but wonder, what time is it for you right now? Someone listening in London once told me they play these at 3 in the morning. Someone from Seattle listens during their commute, which sounds a little dangerous, but perhaps the gentle calm works for them in its own way. Soon, we'll step onto the Titanic together. But first, allow yourself a moment, just to get comfortable. Adjust your pillow, stretch your shoulders, let your body settle. Because once this story begins drifting forward, you may not want to move again for a while. Your eyes open slowly to soft morning light filtering through the tall, graceful windows of a London hotel room. It's April 10th, 1912. The air feels calm, still, and expectant. You press your hands gently into the cool, crisp Egyptian cotton sheets, enjoying the sensation one last time before you swing your legs over the side of the bed. Beneath your feet, the plush carpet greets you with a warmth that feels comforting, especially when you think about the cold Atlantic Ocean waiting far beyond your morning routine. 7 o'clock, madam, comes a gentle voice from behind the door. Your lady's maid enters with a tray holding tea and a slice of toast. Her tone is soft, practiced, and almost rhythmic. We should begin preparations if you wish to reach the boat train on time. You've been waiting for this day for months. The maiden voyage of the RMS Titanic, the newest, largest, and most luxurious ocean liner ever constructed, and tucked safely in your belongings is a coveted first-class ticket. You lift the perfectly brewed Earl Grey to your lips. Is everything packed? You ask. Nearly all, madam, she answers, already laying out your travel suit. A tailored navy blue wool ensemble with a matching hat. Packing for an ocean crossing is never simple. There are outfits for morning walks on deck, for quiet afternoon teas, for formal dinners that stretch late into the night. The thought of being seen in the same evening gown twice feels almost scandalous. At home, your bed has been replaced by 4 steamer trunks, each overflowing with gowns, coats, neat stacks of linen, and shoes arranged side by side like obedient soldiers. For women, the list of required clothing is almost mathematical. A tailor, maid suit, thick silk or wool tights, at least 4 sets of undergarments, several shirt-waists, a sweater, a warm wrap for the Turkish baths, a dressy bodice for dinner, proper shoes, and 3 pairs of pajamas. Men fare no better. Dinner coats, evening shirts, a regular suit, wool underclothes, handkerchiefs, socks, pajamas, a bathrobe, slippers, and even detachable starched collars. Entire collars, packed just to change the look of a shirt. If anything tells you it's 1912, it's the fact that a man might travel with a small collection of stiff laundry shaped like crescent moons. After breakfast, your maid helps you dress. First the chemise and drawers, soft against the skin, then the corset drawn tight, but not too tight today. Traveling requires comfort. Petticoats settle into place with a gentle rustle. Finally, the navy wool traveling suit. Your hair is pinned neatly beneath your hat. A light dusting of powder, a touch of perfume, and at last, you're ready. Downstairs, an automobile waits. Hotel staff weave carefully around your mountain of luggage, loading each trunk as though stacking pieces of a puzzle. There's a fleeting moment where you wonder if perhaps you've packed too much. The thought disappears as quickly as it arrives. Better too much than too little when sailing among society's elite. The White Star dock in Southampton, please. You tell the driver. Waterloo Station greets you with a hum of anticipation. The special boat train, nicknamed the Titanic Special, waits to carry first-class passengers directly to the docks. The platform buzzes with movement and muffled chatter. Porters hurry past with carts. Families exchange soft goodbyes. Journalists lean forward with pencils poised, eager for stories. "Did you see the passenger list in the paper?" Your friend whispers as you settle into the plush first-class compartment of the train. The Astors are sailing, and the Guggenheims. You nod, feeling a small spark of excitement. This maiden voyage has drawn the wealthiest families of the age, captains of industry, socialites, heirs, heiresses, for the next several days. These people will be your dinner companions, your neighbors, your fellow wanderers on the Atlantic. You notice the men glancing at their pocket watches, each as polished as a mirror. The gentleman across from you checks his for the third time in 5 minutes. Anticipation floats through the compartment like static electricity. The journey from London to Southampton takes only an hour and a half, but time seems to stretch, soften, and wander. You try to read, but your eyes keep drifting. Your thoughts keep slipping back to the ship you've seen so often in newspaper illustrations. They call her the Queen of the Ocean, practically unsinkable. The Olympic, her slightly older sister, impress travelers with luxurious rooms and state-of-the-art amenities, and yet everyone insists the Titanic is even more magnificent. As the train slows near Southampton, a soft gasp rises from someone across the aisle. There she is. People lean toward the windows, some stand, others inhale sharply. In the distance, framed by the sky, 4 massive funnels rise like silent monuments. As the train rolls closer, the full shape of the vessel begins to appear. Its hull stretching endlessly, its white superstructure glowing against the grey morning light. Your breath catches in your throat. "Good Lord," murmurs the gentleman beside you. "She's enormous." Enormous hardly describes her. Titanic stretches 882 feet from bow to stern, her black hull towering over the dock like a cliff carved from steel. Those buff-coloured funnels with their black tops rise proudly above the decks, making every other ship in the harbour look like a tiny, fragile toy. When the train finally stops, you step down into a world of noise and motion. Porters hurry forward to gather luggage. Photographers work their cameras. Vendors call out about souvenirs and newspapers. The air smells of salt, smoke, and excitement, all swirling together into a moment you know you'll remember for years. They say she cost $7.5 million to build. Your friend comments as another trunk is lifted onto a cart. Can you imagine? You pause, letting the number sink in. $7.5 million in 1912, roughly $210 million today. A floating palace built at unimaginable expense, waiting patiently at the dock for you to step aboard. And so, with a deep breath and a quiet sense of wonder, you prepare to walk toward the gangway, toward the Titanic. But honestly, as you stand beneath the towering hull of this floating palace, even $7.5 million begins to sound almost modest. The scale of the ship, the craftsmanship, the quiet confidence of the White Star Line. All of it feels grander than anything a newspaper advertisement could ever capture. Everything around you moves with a kind of choreographed ease. Porters sort your many steamer trunks into neat categories. Those wanted for the voyage, destined for your stateroom, and those not wanted, which will be stored deep in the hold until you reach New York. Each piece of luggage carries a small numbered sticker. Your name, your cabin, your temporary identity on this immense vessel. And unlike the second and third class passengers, who boarded long before you and waited in long, weary inspection lines, you're guided through a quick ticket check and the lightest touch of customs formality. A White Star Line official appears beside you, almost as if summoned by your thoughts. "Your stateroom is on B deck, madam," he says with a polite bow. "One of our finest." His voice is calm, steady, and almost theatrically respectful, as though addressing royalty. The first-class gangway is unlike anything you've ever seen. It stands high above the bustling movement below, a private elevated bridge reserved only for society's uppermost travellers. It leads straight to B deck, the level where the most prestigious accommodations await. As you approach, you pause, letting yourself take one final lingering look at the ship's immense hull. It rises so high that you must tilt your head back just to glimpse the distant boat deck far above. The sheer size is almost unsettling. A building disguised as a ship, a floating city preparing to drift across the sea. Feels like walking into a grand hotel, your friend murmurs. Not boarding a ship at all. You inhale slowly, letting the air settle your thoughts, and step across the threshold. The transformation happens in an instant. The sharp smells and hard edges of the dock dissolve behind you, replaced by an elegant calm. One moment you stand amidst noise and industry. The next, you're inside what feels like the quiet corridor of an English country estate. Rich oak paneling lines the walls. Deep carpets hush your footsteps. Soft electric lights glow from ornate fixtures, warm, steady, and welcoming. Each surface shines as though carefully polished only moments before. The faint, rhythmic sway beneath your feet is the only indication that this refined world is somehow floating on water. A steward in a crisp uniform approaches with a courteous nod. "Ma'am, if you'll follow me to the purser's office. You may wish to make arrangements for the voyage." You soon realize that this is where the true rituals of first-class travel begin. The purser's office is a hive of quiet but purposeful activity. Passengers stand in neat lines, booking deck chairs, reserving dinner tables, securing valuables in the ship's safe, and making special requests that will be carried out with impeccable attention. As you wait, you overhear two stewards whispering in a tone that suggests urgency wrapped in politeness. "Mrs. Shelley insists her stateroom is little better than a cell," one mutters. "Says it's bitterly cold and the walls are far too thin. Claims she must have been placed in second class by mistake." The second steward sighs softly. The advertisements made everything sound grander than possible. Some first-class rooms are cozy. "I'll speak to the purser." You make a mental note. Your cabin assignment on B deck suddenly feels like a blessing. Once your valuables are safely deposited and your arrangements complete, another steward appears to guide you toward your accommodation. The ship's corridors twist and branch like pathways in a luxurious hotel maze. Were it not for the gentle rocking beneath your shoes, you might forget entirely that you are at sea. At last, he stops before a door and opens it with a soft click. "Stateroom B64, madam." You step inside, and a wave of quiet relief washes over you. Your stateroom is splendid, decorated in the delicate, ornate style of Louis XV. White and gold moldings frame the walls, catching the warm light beautifully. A large, inviting bed sits dressed in fine linens. A silk-upholstered sofa rests beneath a small lamp. There is a graceful writing desk, a marble-topped washstand, and generous closets. Then you notice something especially modern beside the bed, a small electric heater. You turn it on instinctively, letting its soft warmth chase away the lingering chill. "Your luggage will arrive shortly, madam," the steward says. "Shall I unpack, or will your maid attend to it?" Before you can reply, a knock sounds at the door. It's your friends from the train, faces rosy with excitement. "You must come to the boat deck," one insists. They're preparing to cast off. Everyone is gathering to wave goodbye. You hadn't intended to leave your stateroom so soon, but their enthusiasm is contagious, and so you follow them through the corridors toward the heart of the ship. The journey takes you to the grand staircase, Titanic's jewel. It rises through multiple decks, sweeping upward beneath a dome of wrought iron and glass. Sunlight filters down in soft golden beams, illuminating the carved wooden clock at the central landing. Two stately figures flank it, honor and glory crowning time. A few passengers pause to gaze upward, some even posing for photographs. "Can you imagine descending these stairs in an evening gown?" your friend whispers. After several flights, you step out into the cool April air of the boat deck. A gentle breeze brushes your face. The scent of sea salt mingles with the crispness of the morning. People crowd the railings, talking, waving, laughing, calling down to loved ones on the dock far below. Children weave between legs. A woman cries softly into her gloved hand while waving a handkerchief. You find a space near the railing and peer downward. The distance to the water is dizzying. The people on the dock seem like tiny toy figures scattered across a model landscape. Around you, life hums. A group of young men pass a flask between them, raising silent toasts. A gentleman nearby murmurs, I heard they delayed departure, something about a near collision. And as you look toward the harbor, you see it. The SS New York, a much smaller vessel, drifting loose from its moorings, sliding uncomfortably, almost ominously, toward Titanic's massive hull. "Look at that!" A gentleman beside you murmurs, his voice low with equal parts concern and fascination. "The suction from our propellers must have pulled her loose." You watch in a kind of quiet awe as the smaller vessel drifts toward Titanic, tugboats scrambling like determined little insects as they push, pull, and nudge the New York away from danger. For a moment, the entire harbor seems to hold its breath. But slowly, almost reluctantly, the crisis fades. The drifting ship is secured. Lines are tightened. The water grows still again. Not the most auspicious start to our journey, your friend whispers with a nervous laugh, though her eyes remain fixed on the water, as if expecting some lingering danger. But the tension softens. Conversations resume. The crew signals that preparations may continue. Then, with a deep, resonant breath, Titanic's whistle sounds. 3 long, echoing blasts. The sound vibrates through your ribs, through the railing beneath your fingers, through the very atmosphere of Southampton. Even the gulls seem to pause, suspended mid-flight. Passengers raise their handkerchiefs with renewed excitement. Some shout final words to loved ones. Others simply stand silently, watching. There is a subtle shift beneath your feet, a softness, barely noticeable, followed by the slow, widening space between ship and shore. Titanic moves like something alive, gentle yet purposeful, gliding free of the land that held her. On the dock, people wave their white handkerchiefs like a field of tiny flowers stirred by the breeze. Some run alongside the ship for as long as their legs carry them, calling one last goodbye. Others stand still, heads tilted upward, watching the grand hull drift away like a dream too large to fully comprehend. As the shoreline shrinks, a strange feeling settles over you, a mingling of excitement, melancholy, and quiet wonder. You have crossed an invisible threshold. Land lies behind. The open sea lies ahead, and for the next week, this vast floating palace will be the entirety of your world. "Shall we explore?" your friend asks, her eyes warm with anticipation. And so your first day aboard the ship of dreams begins, blissfully unaware of what fate waits only 4 days in the future. For now, there is only possibility, peace, adventure, the sound of water parting beneath the hull. "I can't believe we're actually on the Titanic," she whispers, squeezing your arm gently. "Imagine the stories we'll tell when we reach New York." None of you, of course, could imagine the stories that history would eventually tell. As Titanic glides into the open waters, you marvel at how smooth the motion is. For such an enormous vessel, the sensation is almost imperceptible. A faint vibration beneath your shoes, a low hum. Beyond the rail, the world stretches into endless blue. The kind of blue that seems to soften the mind, inviting it to drift. "Shall we see what treasures this floating palace has to offer?" your friend suggests, looping her arm through yours as you step away from the rail. You nod, feeling a quiet thrill at the thought of exploring something so vast. The boat deck surprises you with its space, wide, open, and serene. Nothing like the crowded decks of smaller steamers. Here you can stroll without brushing shoulders. You can breathe deep, slow breaths of sea air. It feels almost meditative. An older gentleman tips his hat politely as he passes. "First crossing?" he asks. "On the Titanic, yes," you reply. "Ah," he chuckles. "You'll find this quite the upgrade, madam. I travelled on the Olympic last year. Titanic's older sister. They've outdone themselves. Here. The private promenade decks for the parlour suites. Simply divine. Not that I could afford one." He moves on, and your friend leans close. "That was Sir Cosmo Duff Gordon," she whispers. "His wife is Madame Lucille, the famous designer." Just like that, you realize, this voyage is as much about the people you meet as the destination itself. Descending the grand staircase again, you pause before a pair of double doors leading into the first-class lounge. Curiosity pulls you inside. The room is breathtaking, Louis XV decor, all soft whites and gentle golds, thick carpets, carved paneling. delicate furniture arranged in cozy groupings as though waiting for whispered conversations. A large electric fireplace, purely decorative yet beautiful, anchors the room. Tall windows bathe everything in natural light. Crystal chandeliers hang overhead, ready to flicker softly in the evenings. "This is where the ladies retire after dinner," a steward explains as he passes, noticing your admiration, while the gentlemen enjoy the smoking room. "Separate spaces?" you ask with a faint smile. "Traditional shipboard etiquette, madam," he replies politely. "Though times are changing, you'll find no one stopping you should you choose to join the gentlemen. Times are indeed changing, though perhaps not quickly enough for your liking. Still, today is for observing rather than challenging tradition." You drift onward to the reading and writing room, a sanctuary of quiet comfort, soft chairs, gentle lamplight, ladies scribbling postcards or reading novels from the ship's library. The atmosphere feels hushed, timeless. "Just imagine," your friend says, settling beside you. "In a few days we'll be sending wireless messages straight from the Atlantic. What would our grandmothers say? Mine would call it witchcraft," you laugh. At $1 per word, wireless messages are hardly cheap, yet the operators are busy tapping out transmissions from passengers eager to announce their presence aboard the greatest ship ever made. As you wander again, you pass the Café Parisien's charming space, styled like a sunny sidewalk cafe in France, complete with wicker furniture and trellises. It feels lighter, more playful than the formal dining rooms. "We simply must take tea here tomorrow," your friend insists, her voice dreamy. The deeper you explore, the larger Titanic seems. Corridors stretch endlessly, each turn revealing another elegant passageway or staircase. Crew members stand ready at every junction, offering quiet guidance when needed. You notice a small sign near a stairwell. "Is that the squash court?" you ask a passing steward. "Yes, madam. Down on F deck, one of the only squash courts at sea, 2 shillings per game, equipment provided. The physical instructor can even serve as your opponent." You imagine the novelty of playing squash in the middle of the Atlantic and tuck the idea away for later. You've also heard whispers, soft, almost secretive, about one of the ship's most unusual luxuries, the swimming bath. The man's voice drifts toward you like a faint echo. "Look at that," he murmurs, awe softening the edges of his words. You follow his gaze just in time to see the massive ship beside you. The New York, lurch free from her moorings. For a heartbeat you feel the air tighten, the world pausing as though holding its breath. The gentle but powerful suction of Titanic's propellers has tugged the smaller vessel loose, sending her drifting dangerously toward your own ship. Tugboats scramble, their whistles sharp against the low hum of the harbour. A tense hush settles over the crowd, everyone watching with wide, uncertain eyes. But within a few careful minutes the danger is eased. The drifting ship is caught, secured, and pulled safely away. A ripple of relieved laughter spreads through the passengers around you like a breeze through tall grass. "Not the most auspicious start to our journey," your friend says with a nervous chuckle, brushing a stray curl from her cheek. But the delay is brief, and soon the atmosphere returns to one of anticipation. Then it comes, the sound that seems to reverberate through your bones. 3 long, resonant blasts from Titanic's whistle, deep and commanding, rolling across the harbour like an ancient creature waking from slumber. The vibration settles warmly in your chest, and cheers spread across the deck. Beneath your feet, you feel a subtle shift. So slight, so gentle, it feels almost imagined, until the space between ship and shore begins to widen, inch by slow inch. Titanic moves forward, graceful and unhurried, as if savouring the beginning of her great journey. On the dock, handkerchiefs wave like white blossoms in a spring field. Some people run alongside the ship for as long as their legs will carry them, shouting final goodbyes, while others simply stand still, their faces glowing with mixed emotions. Southampton slips gradually into the distance, the shoreline fading beneath a wash of grey sky and cool sea breeze. A gentle melancholy brushes against you, soft and wistful, mingling with your excitement. The world you knew lives behind you now, growing smaller with each passing heartbeat. Ahead lies a floating city, a palace on the ocean, and for the next week it will cradle your entire existence. Your friend's eyes sparkle with childlike wonder. "Shall we explore?" she asks, her arm looping through yours, her voice bright against the soft murmur of the sea. You nod, unaware of the fate waiting 4 days in the future. But for now, everything feels boundless. The horizon is wide, the possibilities endless, and the Titanic sails steadily toward adventure. "I can't believe we're actually here," your friend whispers, squeezing your arm gently. "Imagine the stories we'll tell when we reach New York. If only either of you could know how true and how haunting those stories would become." The ship glides through the water with surprising grace. Despite her immense size, she moves smoother than expected. A soft vibration hums beneath your shoes, the only reminder that thousands of tons of steel are cutting through endless blue. Water stretches out in every direction, shimmering beneath the early afternoon light. "Come along," your friend urges, leading you away from the railing. "Let's see what treasures this ship is hiding." You wander onto the boat deck, struck at once by the spaciousness. There is room to breathe here, wide, open space beneath the crisp sky, so unlike the cramped ships you've traveled on before. Passengers stroll leisurely, enjoying the cool air and gentle hum of engines below. An older gentleman passes by, tipping his hat politely. "First crossing?" he asks with a warm smile. "On the Titanic, yes," you answer. "Ah," he chuckles. "You'll find her quite the improvement. I sailed on the Lusitania last summer. A fine ship, but this..." He gestures around with pride. "This is something entirely different. I was on Olympic last year. Titanic's her sister, but even I must admit, they've outdone themselves here." He moves on, and your friend leans close to whisper conspiratorially, "That was Sir Cosmo Duff Gordon, and his wife Madame Lucille, the fashion designer." She laughs softly. "We've been aboard for less than an hour, and already brushing shoulders with the elite. The ship seems to stretch endlessly as you explore. Descending the grand staircase feels like stepping into a dream. You pause, admiring polished oak, elegant railings, and the gleam of sunlight filtering through the magnificent glass dome above. You drift into the first-class lounge, its Louis XV decor, soft and refined, gold paneling, plush carpets, delicate chairs arranged for late-night conversation. A beautifully crafted electric fireplace stands proudly at one end, warm without flame. Tall windows glow with afternoon light, and crystal chandeliers hang like frozen stars overhead. A passing steward notices your quiet wonder. "This is where the ladies retire after dinner," he explains gently, while the gentlemen visit the smoking room. "Of course," he adds with a playful glimmer, "you may go wherever you please, madam. Times are changing." You smile politely, though you're not here to challenge tradition. Not today. The reading and writing room is serene, with comfortable chairs and women quietly penning letters. The soft scratch of pens on paper creates a peaceful rhythm. "Imagine sending a wireless message from the middle of the Atlantic," your friend whispers. "My grandmother would faint." You laugh, imagining the shock on an older relative's face. Your wandering carries you past the Café Parisien, charming with its wicker chairs and trellises made to mimic a Paris sidewalk. "We must have tea here tomorrow," your friend declares. It feels like a small corner of France transported onto the open sea. Corridors stretch endlessly, each turn revealing something new. You ask a steward about a sign indicating the squash court, and he nods kindly. "One of the only courts at sea, madam. Rackets and balls provided." You make a mental note, perhaps later in the voyage. Soon you find yourselves drawn deeper below deck, following rumors of the swimming bath, another marvel of modern engineering. On the way you pass the gymnasium. Through its windows you see remarkable contraptions, rowing machines, bicycles, even electric horses and camels. Your friend stifles a laugh as a woman in a divided skirt rides the mechanical camel with surprising elegance. "That's Mrs. Astor," she whispers, "and her husband is the richest man aboard." Before you can respond, a pleasant voice behind you chimes in. "That camel? It's nothing like the real thing, believe me." You turn to see a young woman with lively eyes and a warm smile. "You've ridden real camels?" your friend asks, captivated. "In Egypt," the woman replies. "A far dustier affair." She extends her hand. "Margaret Brown. But call me Maggie." You exchange introductions. immediately taken by her friendly nature and easy confidence. When she invites you to visit the swimming bath with her, you gladly accept. The pool is warm, glowing softly under electric lights. Heated salt water swirls gently as swimmers move through it. Attendants wait nearby with soft towels, and the air carries the clean, comforting scent of steam. The Turkish baths sit close by, a collection of rooms ranging from warm to intensely hot, ending in a cool, tranquil retreat decorated with tiles and teak. "It's like stepping into another world," Maggie says, "worth every penny." As she guides you back through the ship, she points out small details and shares bits of gossip. Dinner parties, notable families, whispered invitations passed between the wealthy. By the time you return to the upper decks, hours have slipped by unnoticed. Hunger nudges at you, and Maggie suggests the palm court for tea. The space is bright and breezy, filled with palms and wicker furniture. A small orchestra plays softly, the notes floating through the air like feathers. You sit with warm tea and delicate sandwiches, the coastline fading far behind you. Conversation flows gently, unhurried, touched with laughter and quiet fascination. Eventually, the light outside softens. You excuse yourself to dress for dinner, returning to your stateroom where your maid has already unpacked your trunks. She lays out gowns with practiced care. "Not full evening dress tonight, Emily," you tell her kindly. She nods. The navy gown with the silver trim, then. As she fastens the small buttons down your back, you share your impressions of the ship, the people, the grandeur. Emily smiles warmly, grateful for her own comfortable berth and the kindness of the crew. Dressed elegantly but modestly, you make your way to the reception room outside the dining saloon. Passengers mingle softly, forming groups and exchanging impressions. Through the wide doorway, you glimpse stewards carefully aligning silverware and adjusting crystal glasses. Someone murmurs nearby, "They say our stop in Cherbourg may be delayed. Trouble with the tenders." You glance out the window. Indeed, Titanic has slowed, the French coast drawing quietly into view. Cherbourg's harbour is too shallow for a ship of this size, and so passengers, like precious cargo, must be ferried out on smaller boats. And as the sky deepens into evening, you sense the day slowly drifting toward its close. The first of many aboard the ship of dreams. "We won't be allowed ashore, will we?" your friend asks quietly, her voice subdued by the growing evening calm. A passing officer pauses long enough to offer a polite nod. "I'm afraid not, madam," he replies in a tone both courteous and final. "It will be only a brief stop, just enough time to take on passengers and mail. We'll be underway again within 2 hours." His footsteps fade into the soft hum of the ship, and before long a small gong rings out, sweet and delicate, the signal for dinner. It lacks the ceremony that will characterize later evenings, when a uniformed bugler will announce the meal with the roast beef of Old England. Tonight, however, the mood remains gentle, warm and unhurried. You follow the flow of finely dressed passengers into the first-class dining saloon, and again Titanic's immense scale envelops you. The room stretches out like a shimmering sea of white-panelled walls and soft golden lamps. Intricate mouldings embrace the ceiling overhead, where crystal fixtures glimmer with quiet elegance. The patterned blue linoleum beneath your feet adds a cool, refined contrast to the richness above. A steward guides you with a poised gesture. "Your table, madam." You are seated at a round table set for 6, where familiar faces greet you. Maggie Brown, lively as ever, and 2 couples who introduce themselves with warm smiles. "Just wait until tomorrow night," Maggie murmurs, leaning in with a conspiratorial twinkle. "This is nothing. Tomorrow you'll see the real parade. Tiaras, heirloom jewels, gowns straight from Paris. Tonight is merely stretching our legs. Even so, the meal is luxurious." Course after course arrives with the smooth choreography of well-trained hands, clear consommes, delicately poached salmon, tender roast duckling, glistening sirloin of beef, potatoes, fresh fruit, fine cheeses. Everything is placed before you on immaculate china, its blue and gold border catching the gentle light. The atmosphere remains relaxed, almost domestic in its warmth. The men are not yet in full tales, The ladies have left their grandest gowns still folded in their trunks. Many passengers are only just settling in. Some are still boarding even now at Cherbourg. And there is a shared softness to the evening, as if the entire ship is easing itself into the rhythm of its journey. Through the enormous windows, you glimpse the tenders approaching. Tiny shadows beside Titanic's towering hull. The SS Nomadic, elegant in her own right, yet dwarfed completely by the ocean giant, ferries new passengers and mail to the ship. "I hear the Duff Gordons are boarding here," someone remarks lightly. "And Benjamin Guggenheim. More millionaires per square foot than Newport in August," Maggie quips, sending laughter bubbling around the table. Conversation drifts gently, like soft waves on a calm sea. Politics, fashion, travel, the promise of the maiden voyage. One gentleman speaks with quiet pride of Captain Smith's record-breaking crossings. His wife counters with a shiver of humour about the Cunard liners. Teeth rattlers, she calls them, earning a chorus of agreement. After dinner, no formal traditions tug at the passengers. On later evenings, the separation of ladies to the lounge and gentlemen to the smoking room will be expected. But tonight, the mood remains easy. Some wander toward the reception room for coffee. Others stroll along the deck, wrapped in the cool night air. The ship is still a novelty to all, and everyone moves with the gentle curiosity of guests in a vast floating palace. You choose to join those stepping onto the boat deck, drawn by the soft glow of Cherbourg's lights along the coastline. The air carries a crisp chill, refreshing and clear. Below, the final tender carries visitors away, drifting like a tiny lantern on dark water. The Titanic's deep whistle sounds again, long, resonant and powerful, vibrating gently through your chest as the giant vessel begins to turn back toward open sea. "Next stop, Queenstown," someone murmurs nearby. Then nothing but ocean. The words settle over you like a distant echo. A shiver traces your spine, not from cold but from a quiet awareness of the vastness surrounding you. Even aboard a ship as grand as this, the sea remains humbling, a dark, boundless mystery stretching far below the deck. A steward passes carrying a tray of hot chocolate, and you accept a cup gratefully. Its warmth soothes your fingers, the aroma rich and comforting against the salty breeze. One by one, passengers drift indoors, seeking shelter from the strengthening wind. Others remain, watching Cherbourg's lights fade, merging first into a soft flicker, then a suggestion of glow, and finally into nothing at all. Your friend lets out a soft yawn. "I think I'll turn in. It's been such a long day." You agree, feeling a pleasant heaviness in your limbs, the gentle exhaustion that follows excitement, discovery, and hours of wandering through wonders. Returning to your stateroom, you find Emily has already prepared the room for the night. The bed is turned down, the linens crisp and welcoming. Your nightdress rests neatly atop the coverlet, and the electric heater casts a low, comforting warmth throughout the cabin. "Will there be anything else, madam?" Emily asks softly. "No, thank you," you reply. "You may retire." Left alone, you wander to your small porthole. Outside, the sea stretches into darkness, broken only by faint glimmers of starlight dancing on the surface. The engine's gentle vibration creates a soft, steady hum, like a lullaby born from the heartbeat of the ship itself. As you prepare for bed, you reflect on the day's impressions, the marvel of the grand staircase, the splendor of the lounges, the amiable strangers who feel, somehow, like future friends. Titanic is not merely a ship, she is a world unto herself, a floating haven where the worries of the land seem impossibly distant. You slip between the cool linen sheets, sinking into the plush mattress. The ship rocks subtly, a quiet cradle motion that lulls your tired body toward rest. Your mind drifts, slow and peaceful, brushing against memories of laughter, warm tea, glittering chandeliers, and the soft promise of the open sea. Tomorrow will bring Queenstown, the final touch of land before the true crossing. 6 days on the Atlantic, wrapped in luxury and comfort, with nothing but time, conversation, and discovery ahead. With a faint, contented sigh, you close your eyes. Titanic, the greatest ship in the world, carries you steadily forward into the night, and toward whatever dreams may come. Outside your window, the Atlantic stretches in every direction, a dark and endless expanse that seems almost unreal in its stillness. The Titanic glides steadily westward, her rows of glowing portholes shimmering like floating lanterns against the night. Far above, her four great funnels stand like silent sentinels silhouetted against the deep velvet sky. The hum of the engines is low, steady, and comforting. An ever-present reminder that the world's largest moving structure is carrying you gently, confidently, into the open sea. Morning arrives softly, announced not by sunlight at first, but by a gentle knock on your stateroom door. For a quiet, disoriented moment, you forget where you are. Then the faint, measured movement beneath you. The slow, rhythmic breathing of the ship pulls reality back into place. You are aboard the Titanic, no longer near any familiar coastline, but fully at sea after yesterday's final stop at Queenstown. The world you know is behind you now, replaced by an ocean that goes on forever. Emily enters with her usual calm efficiency, carrying a small silver tray. "Good morning, madam," she says, her voice soft so as not to disturb the tranquility of the early hour. "I've brought your morning tea." The delicate aroma of Earl Grey fills the room as she sets the tray beside your bed. When she draws back the curtains, pale morning light spills across the fine Louis XVI furnishings, warming the soft fabrics and polished surfaces of your stateroom. You sit up slowly against the plush pillows, accepting the warm china cup. "What time is it?" you ask, still finding your bearings. "Just after 7, madam." "We're well at sea now. Ireland is far behind us." As you sip your tea, the gentle flavour mixing with the quiet of the room, Emily moves gracefully around the cabin, laying out your clothing for the day. "The steward says it's quite fine out," she reports, though a bit brisk on deck. "I've prepared your walking suit and your cashmere scarf." You thank her, feeling the familiar comfort of your morning routine, easing you fully into wakefulness. Emily hands you the Atlantic Daily Bulletin, a single folded sheet, your connection to the world beyond the horizon. Overnight, the wireless operators have typed out weather reports, stock prices, and headlines from across the globe. It feels almost miraculous, having a piece of the outside world delivered directly to your room, even as miles of water separate you from everything you once called familiar. You skim the paper leisurely. The ship made good progress overnight. The weather is expected to remain calm. There will be a musical concert in the lounge this afternoon. It is a small thing, yet somehow the simple announcement adds a comforting sense of rhythm to the day ahead. When your tea is finished, you begin to dress with Emily's practiced assistance. Warm water arrives at your marble basin, and you wash unhurriedly, feeling the warmth spread pleasantly across your hands and face. Dressing comes next, soft undergarments, your lightly laced day corset, layers of petticoats, and finally your tailored walking suit. As Emily pins your hair into place, you mention almost absently, "I thought I might visit the gymnasium this morning." "Very good, madam," she replies. "Shall I set out your swimming costume as well? I hear the pool is quite delightful. The thought of a warm swim after a brisk walk is inviting," and you nod as she secures the final hairpin. Stepping into the corridor, you feel the whole ship awakening around you. Stewards hurry past with breakfast trays, exchanging quiet greetings. Passengers emerge from their rooms, wrapped in shawls or overcoats, heading toward the decks or the grand dining saloon. The Titanic feels alive, like a small floating city beginning its day with a gentle stir. You make your way briefly into the first-class smoking room, traditionally reserved for gentlemen but open enough now in the quiet morning hours. You slip inside only to collect your own copy of the bulletin. The room carries the rich scent of polished mahogany, leather, and the faint smoke of early cigars. Stained glass windows filter the morning light into warm hues. Card tables sit empty for now, their green baize surfaces waiting for the spirited games that will take place later in the voyage. A distinguished older gentleman rises politely as you enter. His white mustache is neatly trimmed, and his posture is unmistakably military. "Good morning, madam," he says. "May I assist you?" "I was only collecting a bulletin," you explain. He retrieves one and hands it to you with a courteous gesture. "Colonel Archibald Gracie," he introduces himself. "Titanic is making excellent progress. 24 knots overnight, steady as ever. Captain Smith keeps her running beautifully." You thank him, and take your leave, returning to the flow of passengers heading toward breakfast. The grand staircase glows beneath the glass dome above, morning sunlight cascading through it in soft golden waves. As you enter the dining saloon, the room gleams with light reflecting off silver, crystal, and immaculate linens. The atmosphere is relaxed, warm, and quietly cheerful. "Good morning, madam," the head steward greets you. "Your usual table?" "Yes, thank you." To your delight, Maggie Brown is already seated, animated as always, sharing lively stories with the bishops. She waves you over brightly. "There you are," she calls. "I was just telling them I intend to try the Turkish baths later. You simply must join me. Unless the gymnasium steals you away first." You settle comfortably into your chair as a steward places your napkin for you and another pours fresh, fragrant coffee. The breakfast menu is extensive, though familiar. Porridge, eggs, fish, meats, pastries, fruit. Nothing short of legendary aboard Titanic. Mr. Bishop recommends the mutton chops. His wife praises the omelettes. After a moment of thought, you choose oatmeal with cream, followed by smoked salmon and poached eggs. The room hums gently with quiet conversations, clinking silverware, and the soft shuffle of stewards' polished shoes. Outside the windows, the Atlantic glitters with the first true light of day. Somewhere deep within the ship, the engines continue their steady, soothing rhythm, an almost hypnotic heartbeat beneath it all. Your second day aboard the Titanic has begun, calm and unhurried, wrapped in luxury and carried forward by the gentle promise of open sea. The moment you place your breakfast order, a quiet sense of wonder drifts through your thoughts. It's astonishing, really. This delicate choreography required to serve such fresh, varied food in the very middle of the vast Atlantic Ocean. Everything appears so effortless on the surface, yet you can only imagine the immense machinery of people working behind the scenes to make such luxury feel natural. "I heard they've got 40,000 eggs in cold storage," Maggie says suddenly, as if she can read the thoughts passing through your mind. She leans in slightly, lowering her voice with theatrical flair. "And enough fresh meat to feed a regiment. The kitchen is practically a small city by itself." Mrs. Bishop looks at her with mild surprise. "You've seen it?" "I make it my business to see everything," Maggie replies with a mischievous glimmer in her eye. "Slipped the head chef a little something, and he showed me around himself. 40 chefs and cooks all working in a kind of organized chaos. Quite the sight, I assure you. Your breakfast arrives with practiced grace, a silver-rimmed bowl of steaming oatmeal, the soft scent blending warmly with the crisp, salty air drifting in through the windows. The salmon is arranged beautifully beside perfectly poached eggs, each detail precise and elegant. And when you take the first bite, the quality is undeniable. Rich, comforting, subtly flavored. A perfect beginning to the day. Around you, the dining saloon grows livelier as the morning progresses. Gentle conversations ripple softly between tables, blending with the rhythmic clink of silverware and the low hum of the ship's engines. Outside the wide windows, the Atlantic meets the sky in a smooth, unwavering line. Today, the sea is unusually calm, shifting only with a slight, soothing swell that causes the ship to rock gently, like a cradle. "I heard the Astors finally emerged from their suite," Mrs. Bishop murmurs, leaning toward your table conspiratorially. "Apparently they took all their meals privately yesterday." "Well, they are on their honeymoon," Maggie points out, arching a brow. "And considering all the gossip about the age difference, I don't blame them for wanting some peace." The Astors' marriage had indeed stirred its share of scandal. John Jacob Astor, nearing 50, had divorced his first wife to marry 18-year-old Madeline. Their escape across Egypt and Paris had been a deliberate retreat from the relentless chatter of New York society. "I hear their suite has its own private promenade," Mr. Bishop adds dryly. "Probably hasn't felt the need to leave it." Your breakfast ends slowly, the conversation drifting from fellow passengers to shipboard plans to quiet speculation about the coming days at sea. The Atlantic weather, everyone agrees, seems promising enough. "Well, I think I'll visit the gymnasium this morning," you say at last, dabbing your lips with your napkin. "Anyone care to join?" Maggie brightens immediately. "I will." The bishops decline gently, choosing a morning walk on the boat deck instead. You and Maggie leave the warm, bustling dining saloon and make your way upward toward the open deck. The moment you step outside, the fresh morning air envelops you, bracing, salty, and wonderfully clean. It smells of open water and distant horizons. Now this, Maggie declares, breathing deeply, is proper sea air. Makes you feel alive, doesn't it? The deck is already filling with early risers. Some walk briskly, faces set with determination, while others stroll more slowly, stopping now and then to admire the endless blue. A few people have settled into deck chairs, bundled in thick blankets as they read quietly or gaze at the water with meditative calm. The gymnasium stands just ahead, its door propped open. Inside, warm light spills onto polished floors and gleaming equipment. Several passengers are already in motion, rowing, pedaling, swinging Indian clubs. Each watched carefully by the ship's enthusiastic physical educator, Mr. Matt Corley. "Good morning, ladies," he calls pleasantly. "First time in the gymnasium? You'll need tickets. 1 shilling each, available from the purser." With a flourish, Maggie produces 2 tickets from her handbag, already sorted. "Now show us these famous electric beasts of yours." The gymnasium is a bright and surprisingly modern space, panelled in white oak with wide windows overlooking the passing ocean. Inside is an assortment of equipment ranging from traditional to utterly peculiar. Dumbbells, stationary bicycles, rowing machines, massage devices, and of course, the infamous electric horse and electric camel. The horse has settings for both trot and canter, Matt Corley explains proudly, demonstrating as the strange contraption rocks back and forth with mechanical precision. Excellent for digestion and posture, rather popular among the gentlemen. "And the camel?" you ask, eyeing it with cautious curiosity. "A similar idea," he says, "but, with a camel's gait. The ladies find it most beneficial for the waistline." You and Maggie exchange a barely restrained glance, fighting off laughter. "I'll try it," Maggie announces boldly. "When else will I have the chance to ride a camel without sand or heat?" While she mounts the machine with surprising elegance, you choose a stationary bicycle instead. Matt Corley adjusts the resistance and shows you the little meter that tracks your imaginary miles. "We have some ladies who race," he says. "Mrs. Candy and Mrs. Dodge did 10 miles before luncheon yesterday." As you pedal, feeling your body warm pleasantly, you observe the room. The mix of ages, the determined expressions, the gentle sheen of effort on everyone's faces. The gymnasium feels different from the rest of the ship, less formal, lighter, more human in its energy. Women wear loose gym wear or divided skirts, men sport flannels instead of waistcoats. It feels like a separate little world. "This camel is nothing like the real thing," Maggie calls over, bouncing rhythmically. "Far too smooth. Real camels are dreadful, jerky beasts." "Perhaps that's why it's popular," you reply. "All the prestige with none of the discomfort." After 20 minutes you feel pleasantly warm, you're breathing deep and steady. Matt Corley brings you each a cup of water, offering it with a proud smile. Maggie moves on to the rowing machine, still brimming with energy. "Most ladies try the mechanical horse before they finish," Matt Corley suggests. "Excellent for posture." You decide to try it, if only for the novelty. The wooden horse begins its slow, rhythmic motion. Nothing like a real animal, but soothing, oddly hypnotic. The movement rocks you gently, like the roll of the ship beneath your feet. "Do many women use the gym?" you ask as you dismount. "Oh yes," Matt Corley replies warmly. "Ladies' hours are 10 to 1, and it's usually quite busy. The camel draws quite a crowd." He lowers his voice ever so slightly, as if sharing a small secret. "Between us, I believe some come only so they can tell their friends back home they rode it. Quite the conversation piece at dinner parties." His words linger lightly in the air, mingling with the steady hum of the equipment and the soft rhythm of the ship as another calm morning drifts peacefully onward. You step fully into the swimming bath area, letting the warmth and faint scent of chlorinated salt water wash over you. The pool itself gleams invitingly, the smooth surface reflecting the soft light from the portholes above. Despite the ship gliding steadily through the Atlantic, the water remains almost unnervingly calm, like a private lake carved out of steel and timber. "Baffles," the swimmer repeats with a small smile, as if reading your thoughts. "Keeps the water still, even when the ship rocks. It seems almost magical. Floating here, the ocean's movement barely registering, while the gentle hum of the engines far below creates a subtle, comforting vibration through the deck. You take a deep breath and dip a hand into the water, surprised at how warm it feels, perfectly tempered for comfort. Maggie glides past you in a practice stroke, her red and black striped swimsuit flashing in the soft light. "Come on," she calls cheerfully. "There's nothing like it. Swimming on a ship, really swimming." With a small laugh, you step in fully, letting the buoyancy lift you slightly. Each stroke feels smooth, almost dreamlike, the gentle resistance of the salt water enveloping you. You move carefully at first, more aware of your surroundings than your speed, then gradually gain confidence, floating, gliding, and letting the rhythm of your arms and legs sync with the faint sway of the vessel. The room is peaceful, punctuated only by quiet splashes and the soft murmur of other ladies enjoying the water. A steward moves along the side of the pool, towels in hand, ready for those who pause to rest. The tiled deck gleams under the soft electric lights, each step echoing lightly as passengers enter or leave. Maggie circles back, laughing lightly as she spots your measured strokes. "You'll be gliding like a dolphin in no time," she teases. "Just follow the rhythm of the ship. It helps." You do, feeling the subtle waves beneath your feet, the gentle vibration of the engines, the faint scent of warm salt water mixing with the clean air. For a moment, it feels as though time has slowed, each second stretching into a quiet, luxurious moment of calm and delight. The world beyond the ship, pressures, duties, obligations, seems impossibly far away. Here, in this small, heated pool, you exist solely with water, motion, and the soft companionship of a friend. When you finally pause at the edge of the pool, resting your arms on the smooth tiles, you feel light, almost buoyant in more ways than one. Maggie swims up beside you, both of you catching your breath, faces flushed with gentle exertion and exhilaration. "I could stay here all morning," she murmurs, eyes sparkling. "It's absurdly perfect." Yes, you agree softly, letting the water drip slowly from your arms. It really is. After a final leisurely stretch, you rise from the pool, shaking the water gently from your hair. Towels are pressed into your hands, soft and warm, and you wrap yourself in the comforting embrace of cotton and wool. The changing room, with its polished wood and quiet order, feels like a small sanctuary compared to the expansive deck above. Soon you're fully dried and dressed, stepping back into the hallways of Titanic with a lingering sense of weightlessness. Outside, the hum of the engines continues, steady and reassuring. You glance out a nearby porthole, catching a glimpse of the endless blue. Somewhere beyond, the horizon stretches out like a promise. "Shall we visit the Turkish baths next?" Maggie asks, voice low, conspiratorial. "I hear the cooling room is just divine, like something out of Arabian Nights." You nod, smiling at the thought. For a week, perhaps even longer, there is only this: the rhythm of the ship, the elegance of its spaces, the warmth of its water, and the quiet joy of discovery. Each step, each stroke, each gentle turn of the corridor or poolside tile carries a sense of possibility, the sort of calm excitement that makes one feel, quite simply, alive. And so, with towels folded neatly in your arms and anticipation at your back, you move onward, deeper into Titanic's hidden world, ready for whatever marvel awaits next. You rise from your chair, stretching lightly, still savoring the warmth left by the pool and the satisfaction of a leisurely luncheon. The dining saloon hums softly around you as passengers continue their own meals or drift toward the boat deck for an afternoon stroll. Outside the windows, the Atlantic stretches endlessly, a glittering expanse of gentle waves, the sunlight sparkling like scattered diamonds on the water's surface. "Shall we?" Maggie asks again, looping her arm through yours. Together, you descend through the companionways to F deck, where the Turkish baths await. The further you go below the main decks, the more the soft vibration of the engines hums through the ship's structure, a constant reminder of the massive vessel gliding steadily westward. The entrance to the baths is understated but elegant. a small brass plaque and polished teak doors signaling the sanctuary within. An attendant greets you with a courteous bow. "Good afternoon, ladies. Your appointment is ready. This way, please." He leads you into a narrow antechamber lined with lockers and benches, where warm towels and bathrobes are neatly arranged. Stepping through the second set of doors, you are immediately enveloped by the gentle heat and fragrant steam of the Moorish-style cooling room. Blue tiles gleam softly in the filtered light, while teak furniture, low stools, and intricately carved screens create an intimate, almost otherworldly atmosphere. The scent of eucalyptus and mint mingles with the warmth, and for a moment, the rest of the world, the Atlantic, the ship, even the other passengers, fades away. "Divine," Maggie whispers, settling onto a bench with a towel draped across her lap. "I could spend hours here just sitting and reading." You allow yourself a deep breath, inhaling the warmth, the delicate fragrance, the soft hum of the ship through the walls. The steam gently caresses your skin as you move through the sequence of rooms. The hot room, the steam room, the temperate room, each step leaving you lighter and more relaxed. Attendants offer quiet guidance, presenting bowls of cool water, helping you adjust to each new temperature, ensuring comfort and safety at every turn. Finally, you reach the cooling room, the pinnacle of the Turkish bath experience. The atmosphere is serene, almost meditative, with gentle tiles underfoot and a soft, almost imperceptible breeze wafting through vents in the ceiling. You sink onto a teak lounge, closing your eyes, letting the warmth and gentle humidity seep into your muscles. Every movement, every breath feels slow, deliberate, and impossibly luxurious. Maggie leans back beside you, her expression relaxed, almost conspiratorial. "I don't suppose anyone back home would ever believe you could have this on a ship," she murmurs, glancing around the empty room. You smile, closing your eyes. It feels like the world has shrunk to this room, this moment. No responsibilities, no worries, just warmth, light, and gentle hum of the ship beneath us. Time seems to stretch and soften in the cooling room. The outside world exists only as a distant murmur, the light through the portholes diffused by steam, casting shifting patterns across the blue tiles. For this brief interlude, you are suspended between worlds, the vast, endless Atlantic outside, and the luxurious, intimate sanctuary inside. After a while, you rise reluctantly, feeling the pleasant heaviness of muscles soothed and mind calmed. Towels are draped around shoulders, bathrobes fastened with soft ties, and the attendants guide you back toward the main corridor. The gentle vibration of the ship beneath your feet is once again noticeable, grounding you in the fact that you are not merely in a spa, but aboard the grandest ship ever built. "Well," Maggie says, smoothing her robe, "I think we've earned a little rest before afternoon tea or a stroll on deck. Or perhaps the library calls?" You nod, feeling the calm contentment settle deep within. For a week, this will be your world, a floating palace of gentle movement, elegance, and endless possibility. With one last glance at the cooling room, you step back into the corridors of Titanic, ready for whatever small wonder awaits next. You step into the palm court, and a wave of warmth and gentle fragrance greets you. The room is a sunlit oasis amid the endless ocean, with tall potted palms casting delicate shadows over rattan chairs and tables set with crisp white linens. The small orchestra plays softly in the corner, strings and woodwinds weaving a soothing melody that drifts lazily across the space. "Here we are," Maggie says, guiding you to a table by the wide windows. From here you can watch the waves glinting in the late afternoon sun, the endless horizon stretching in all directions. The table is already set with silver trays of finger sandwiches, delicate pastries, scones with clotted cream, and tiny pots of preserves. Tea, in fine bone china cups with delicate gold rims, steams gently, filling the air with its rich aroma. You settle into your chair, the soft cushion yielding beneath you, and pour your first cup. The tea is perfectly brewed, the warmth seeping into your hands as you raise the cup to your lips. Maggie unwraps a scone, spreading cream and jam with evident delight. "Life doesn't get much better than this," she murmurs. Conversation flows easily, a gentle current accompanying the music. You speak of the morning's adventures, the gymnasium, the swimming bath, and the invigorating Turkish baths, sharing impressions and quietly observing the other passengers. First-class society is a delicate mixture of elegance and intrigue, and even the simplest anecdote about the day's happenings carries a sense of theatre. Outside, the ship glides steadily across the Atlantic, the wake forming delicate white patterns on the darkening water. The sun, now lower in the sky, casts a warm golden glow through the large windows, setting the palms aglow with a soft amber hue. The gentle hum of the engines beneath your feet is almost hypnotic, a constant reminder that the grandest ship ever built moves steadily onward, carrying all aboard toward New York. Tea concludes with a few final pastries, each bite sweet and light. The orchestra's music drifts to a soft finish, leaving only the quiet murmur of conversation and the occasional clink of silverware. Maggie leans back in her chair, stretching lightly. "Shall we take a stroll on deck before dressing for dinner?" she suggests. You agree, rising and following her toward the companionway. Stepping onto the boat deck, the cool evening air contrasts with the warmth of the palm court, brushing against your skin and carrying the salt-tinged scent of the sea. The deck is alive with passengers enjoying the twilight, some walking briskly, others leaning against the rail to watch the waves. For a moment, you pause, looking out at the vast Atlantic, its expanse seemingly endless, and feel the serene thrill of being aboard Titanic. Every detail, every luxury, every small comfort. The warmth of tea, the elegance of the palm court, the gentle rhythm of the ship creates a sense of suspended time, a floating world apart from anything on land. Maggie walks beside you, chatting lightly about the day's upcoming evening events, while you let the salt air and fading light soothe your senses. The Atlantic evening unfolds like a slow, measured dream, each moment rich with calm and the quiet anticipation of new discoveries yet to come. You blink, momentarily startled. The Astors, the subject of so much whispered gossip in the palm court, quietly presiding over a shuffleboard tournament. Maggie nods, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Yes, the very same. Apparently they're quite serious about their afternoon games. Who knew? The deck hums with activity, a gentle counterpoint to the stately elegance of the ship's interiors. Passengers stroll, converse, or simply lean against the rail absorbing the sea breeze. The Astors themselves are nearby, quietly demonstrating the proper technique for the game to a small group of onlookers. Even in leisure, they carry themselves with an unmistakable presence, a blend of wealth, social stature, and personal magnetism that draws attention without demanding it. Maggie gives a low laugh. Imagine the letters home if anyone knew who was actually running the shuffleboard competition. The servants must be having a field day keeping track of it all. You smile, enjoying the moment. For all the gossip, intrigue and wealth surrounding you, there's a simple pleasure in the unhurried rhythm of deck life. The sun warming your shoulders, the gentle rocking of the ship, and the endless horizon stretching in every direction. It is perhaps the most democratic of spaces on the Titanic, a place where status is present, but softened by the shared experience of the sea. As the sun sinks lower, casting long shadows across the deck, you and Maggie continue your walk, pausing occasionally to greet fellow passengers or admire the distant ships dotting the Atlantic. The golden light bathes the ocean in warmth, and the steady hum of the engines beneath you creates a sense of security and wonder simultaneously. Finally, the ship's bell tolls, signaling time to dress for dinner. Maggie sighs dramatically. Another day aboard, another opportunity to marvel at this floating palace. Shall we retire for a moment and prepare? You nod, following her back toward the grand stairway. Inside, the ship's interiors glow with evening warmth, polished wood, sparkling brass, and the soft lighting that will set the stage for first-class dinner. Even the corridors, so familiar by now, seem to hum with anticipation for the evening ahead. As you reach your stateroom to change, the anticipation of the night's formal dinner fills you with a quiet excitement. For each day aboard Titanic is a carefully orchestrated experience, a balance of relaxation, recreation, and social ritual, all designed to leave passengers both entertained and awed. Tonight, You reflect, promises another immersion into that world, where the ship itself feels alive, and every detail. From the chandelier-lit dining saloon to the meticulously prepared meals, is a testament to grandeur beyond imagining. They move with quiet confidence, drawing only the natural attention that comes from elegance rather than ostentation. Madeline, in a delicate silver gown that shimmers with every step, leans slightly toward her husband as they enter, offering a soft smile to the acquaintances and observers who acknowledge them. The murmurs begin almost immediately, passengers exchanging discreet glances, commenting softly on her youth and grace, on the couple's apparent ease with public scrutiny after days of seclusion. Maggie leans toward you, her voice barely audible over the soft strains of the orchestra. See, they've chosen the perfect moment, just as dinner begins. Everyone will be seated before too long. You nod, fascinated by the subtle choreography of social attention aboard Titanic. Here, even the act of entering a room is staged by instinct and etiquette. The reception room continues to fill with passengers, some lingering near friends, others making new introductions. Gentle laughter drifts above the clinking of glasses and silver trays, a constant hum of activity softened by the music. You and Maggie exchange a glance, both sensing the anticipation of the first formal dinner, the centerpiece of shipboard social life. Finally, the announcement comes. The head steward calls the first seating to the dining saloon. The crowd begins to move, a fluid procession down the grand staircase. The Astors, maintaining their discreet poise, join their table, a few steps behind their entrance, but commanding attention nonetheless. You follow Maggie, weaving past clusters of passengers, your own evening gown catching the low light, your gloves brushing against polished banisters. The dining saloon itself is a cathedral of Edwardian luxury, tall windows draped in velvet, gilded mirrors reflecting soft lamplight, and the long tables immaculately set with star-lined china, silver, and crystal. The orchestra shifts to a gentle waltz, accompanying the movements of the arriving diners. Seated at your table, you glance around, taking in the sight of fellow passengers, chatting quietly, the hushed excitement of the room palpable. Every detail, from the folded napkins to the placement of cutlery, speaks of meticulous planning. You notice the subtle gestures of recognition, the nod of a head, the lifting of a glass, the brief exchange of polite words, social currency in this enclosed world of wealth and leisure. Maggie leans closer, her eyes bright. First course soon. Are you ready? You take a deep breath, settling into your seat, feeling the hum of anticipation and the thrill of being part of this floating society. Tonight, as always aboard Titanic, is a performance as much as a meal, and you are both observer and participant in its glittering spectacle. The announcement hangs in the air like a ripple through still water, social currents subtly shifting as tables murmur approval and curiosity. Guests glance at one another, gauging reactions, aware that an invitation from Benjamin Guggenheim is not merely casual. It carries both prestige and whispered intrigue. You catch Maggie's eye across the table. Her faint smile is a mixture of amusement and anticipation. The final courses arrive, desserts presented with the same meticulous precision as the earlier dishes, delicate pastries, fruit tarts, and a towering croquette bouche garnished with spun sugar. Tea and coffee follow, poured with expert grace by stewards moving like clockwork among the tables. Conversation ebbs and flows, punctuated by laughter, murmured gossip, and the occasional clink of a glass. From your seat, the room seems almost theatrical, the lighting soft and golden, reflecting off the crystal and polished silver. The orchestra has shifted to a gentle waltz, and couples on the edges of the dance floor, or merely moving to admire the decor, seem to glide in time with the music, heads turned discreetly toward the Astors again, noting their calm composure in the midst of attentive eyes. As plates are cleared and the last sips of coffee are taken, stewards appear with invitations and small notes for post-dinner gatherings, seamlessly maintaining the rhythm of this floating world. The bishops discuss their evening plans quietly, while Maggie nudges you gently, excitement barely contained. "Shall we accept Guggenheim's invitation?" she whispers. You nod, aware that joining him in the Café Parisien will offer a rare glimpse into the more private social circles aboard Titanic. An opportunity to see another layer of life on this magnificent vessel. The last echoes of conversation and the final sparkle of candlelight mark the close of dinner, yet the evening is far from over. In the fading glow of the chandeliers, the promise of post-dinner coffee, whispered confidences and elegant promenades along the boat deck stretches ahead. Titanic is alive in ways beyond mere movement across the ocean. Its pulse is social, a complex choreography of wealth, curiosity, and subtle intrigue. You and Maggie exchange a glance, a mix of curiosity and mischief sparkling in your eyes. The room beyond the doors exudes an aura of privilege and secrecy, a carefully curated male domain. The low murmur of voices, punctuated by occasional bursts of laughter, seems almost ceremonial, a contrast to the feminine elegance and structured conversation you left behind in the lounge. With cautious steps, you edge closer, peering through the small windows. The men are engrossed in games of cards, animated debates, and cigar smoke curling lazily toward the ceiling. The soft crackle of a fireplace blends with the occasional clink of glassware. You notice Mr. Bishop already deep in discussion with a few other gentlemen, a glass of port in hand. A subtle hierarchy is on display, the more prominent passengers seated centrally, while younger or lesser-known men occupy the periphery, nodding respectfully when addressed. Maggie leans toward you, whispering, "It's like a theatre for men." Every gesture and conversation carefully observed. You nod, taking in the scene. The contrast to the lounge is striking, unstructured, boisterous, and at times raucous, yet still imbued with the refinement of wealth and education. You linger long enough to catch snippets of conversation. Discussions range from the captain's anticipated arrival schedule to subtle boasting about investments, yachts, and European estates. Every so often, a man lifts his glass in silent toast, acknowledging a witty remark or a successful card hand. There's a palpable camaraderie, a private world of first-class male privilege operating parallel to the polished social rituals of the ladies' spaces. Satisfied with your brief incursion into this bastion of masculine society, you and Maggie quietly retreat, letting the door close with a soft click behind you. Stepping back into the corridor, the scent of polished wood and cigar smoke fades, replaced by the delicate perfume lingering from the lounge. "That was enlightening," Maggie murmurs, smiling, "a world apart and yet strangely fascinating." You nod, the sense of having glimpsed a secret side of Titanic adding another layer to the rich tapestry of your evening. You and Maggie step back through the heavy mahogany doors, the warm haze of tobacco smoke and low murmurs fading behind you. The corridor feels almost freshly crisp in contrast, the scent of perfume and polished wood from the ladies' spaces replacing the masculine richness you just left. Maggie's eyes sparkle with a mixture of mischief and enlightenment. "Well, that was illuminating," she murmurs, adjusting her wrap. "I never realized how carefully this whole world operates. Strategy, alliances, subtle intimidation. It's practically a battlefield disguised as leisure." You nod, thinking of the professional gambler Andrews warned about and the careful orchestration of the daily pool. The entire room had been a delicate ecosystem of power, wealth, and risk. "And yet," you reply, "it's fascinating to witness the rituals in person, the way these men conduct themselves, so different from what we've seen in the salons or lounges, but equally deliberate." Maggie laughs softly. "I can see why these spaces are considered off-limits, not for the faint of heart, or the faint of curiosity, it seems." As you make your way down a deck toward the Café Parisien, the evening air greets you, cool against the warmth of the corridors. The lights of the ship twinkle along the decks, reflections shimmering across the Atlantic's black expanse. A sense of anticipation builds. This next stop promises a world of exclusivity, intimacy, and subtle social maneuvering quite unlike the public theatre of the dining saloon or the smoky stratagems of the card room. At the Café Parisien, the soft glow of gas lamps illuminates delicate wicker and satin seating, small tables set for 2 or 4, and a few discreetly placed potted palms. Waiters move silently among the guests, carrying coffee, petit fours, and liqueurs. You notice the attention to detail. The embroidered table linens, silver service, and fine china, matching the opulence of the main dining room, but in a more intimate, refined setting. Mr. Guggenheim rises as you enter, extending a courteous nod. "Ah, ladies," he says smoothly, gesturing to the empty seats at his table. "I hope the smoking room wasn't too enlightening?" Maggie smiles knowingly. "It was quite educational, thank you. But now we're ready for something a little more civilized. You take your seats, aware of the discreet glances from other patrons, a subtle acknowledgement of your unusual presence. The cafe hums with quiet conversation, laughter, and the delicate clink of cups, a far gentler energy than the male-dominated room you just left. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee and sweet pastries mingles with the faint scent of the sea through open portholes, creating an atmosphere of refined intimacy. Mr. Guggenheim leans back slightly, swirling the contents of his glass. "It's a rare pleasure to host guests here," he says. "Most consider this place strictly private, but you're in with the right company." You glance at Maggie, who raises an eyebrow with playful amusement. "Yes," you think. "Somehow we've earned a small doorway into the inner sanctums of Titanic's first-class life, and the evening is only beginning." The conversation flows easily, laughter punctuating the pauses between sips of coffee and clinks of porcelain. The atmosphere in the Café Parisien is relaxed, almost conspiratorial in its intimacy, a far cry from the rigid formalities of the dining saloon. You notice how Guggenheim's charm and effortless authority shape the tone of the table, making even those less socially seasoned feel at ease. "You see," he continues, leaning slightly forward, "opportunity and audacity often speak louder than pedigrees. Social hierarchies are flexible when navigated cleverly." His gaze sweeps over the group, landing briefly on you and Maggie. "One must simply know the rules, and when to bend them." Maggie, ever quick with a playful retort, raises an eyebrow. "And the proper amount of audacity, I presume?" "Exactly," Guggenheim replies, a slow smile spreading across his face. "Too little, and you're invisible. Too much, and, well, let's just say society has its ways of reminding you of the boundaries." Harry Widner, eager to join the discussion, adds, "Traveling in Europe with Ella Lenina taught me much about subtlety in social interactions. Parisian salons operate almost like chessboards, where every gesture, glance, and word is calculated." Madame Aubard leans closer to you, lowering her voice in amused confidence. "And yet, one must sometimes make bold moves. Otherwise life becomes far too predictable." The conversation drifts naturally from social strategy to anecdotes of their European travels, rare book hunts, gallery visits, and even encounters with eccentric aristocrats. You find yourself absorbed, noting how the less rigid environment of the cafe encourages honesty, humor, and genuine curiosity. Guggenheim's attention returns to Maggie and Colorado. How remarkable, truly. Managing mining interests alone, that requires both courage and intellect. Maggie smiles, modest but proud. "One must adapt quickly in the West. Opportunities don't wait for anyone." "Ah," Guggenheim replies, "a lesson many could learn. In Europe, tradition can bind one as tightly as any corset." A murmur of laughter ripples through the table, and even the usually reserved Widners join in. Through the windows, the Atlantic night stretches endlessly, black and calm, the ship's lights casting reflections that shimmer like distant city streets. The soft music of the cafe trio underscores the conversation, light and unobtrusive, allowing each voice its place. The sense of intimacy, combined with the exclusivity of the location, makes it feel as if you are part of a privileged secret world aboard Titanic. You sip your coffee, watching the interactions unfold. Guggenheim orchestrating conversation with the ease of a conductor, the others responding naturally, some with deference, some with playful challenge. Even Madame Aubard, with her limited English, is fully engaged, laughter punctuating her words, gestures emphasizing her points. Maggie leans back slightly, her expression content. "I think I prefer this to the dining saloon. People are themselves here, no performance required." You nod in agreement, realizing how the cafe's charm lies not in opulence, but in its ability to dissolve barriers, if only temporarily. Here, the glittering hierarchy of Titanic's first class seems less rigid, and the intricacies of social power, though still present, are softened by warmth, laughter, and the gentle glow of lamplight. You and Maggie walk side by side along the promenade deck, the night sky above a deep velvety black, dotted with distant stars. The ship glides steadily through the Atlantic, its wake shimmering under the faint moonlight. The occasional gentle creak of timber or whisper of water against the hull is the only sound besides the soft swish of your footsteps. The contrast with the warmth and laughter of the cafe is striking. Here, the vast openness of the sea feels humbling, almost meditative. You inhale deeply, the crisp salt air invigorating, clearing the last traces of the evening's indulgences. Maggie, pulling her wrap tighter around her shoulders, breaks the silence. It's amazing how different the ship feels at night. No music, no chatter, just the ocean and the lights glimmering from below. She pauses, her gaze tracing the outline of the distant horizon. It's almost like the Atlantic itself is watching us, reminding us how small all of this is. You nod in agreement, feeling a similar sense of perspective. The opulence, the hierarchy, the rituals of first class, all impressive but fleeting against the immensity of the sea. Yet it also emphasizes how carefully this floating world has been constructed. A delicate balance of luxury and discipline, excitement and propriety. After a leisurely circuit, you pause near the rail, leaning slightly to watch the gentle swell of the waves. Maggie stands beside you, quiet for a moment. I wonder, she muses softly, how many of the passengers ever truly stop to appreciate this, the sheer scale of it all. Everyone seems so caught up in appearances, bets, and dances. You smile, thinking of the day's events. From the afternoon tea to the first formal dinner, the subtle intrigues of the smoking room and the impromptu dance in the Café Parisien. Few, I imagine. But moments like this, you gesture to the vast, starlit ocean, are what make it unforgettable. The cold eventually drives you both to turn back toward the warmth of your stateroom. Your pace slows, savoring the quiet, the sense of night stretching endlessly around the ship. By the time you re-enter the corridor, the muted glow from the deck lights frames the cabin doors in a comforting golden halo. Emily greets you silently at the doorway, ready to assist with any final preparations before sleep. You allow yourself a last glance out the small porthole, the Atlantic stretching dark and infinite, before finally stepping inside. The day has been rich, full of observation, social maneuvering, laughter, and dance. But now, the gentle sway of the Titanic rocks you toward a well-earned rest. The ship hums softly around you, a grand vessel carrying lives, secrets, and dreams steadily across the ocean, its lights twinkling like a floating constellation on the endless night. The Atlantic stretches before you in a velvet expanse, dark and endless, with only the faint ripple of the ship's wake catching the dim light of the early morning. Your breath rises in misty clouds as you pull your scarf tighter, gloves snug against your hands. The deck, slick with overnight dew, glimmers faintly in the pre-dawn darkness. You take a deep breath, savoring the bracing freshness. The air is sharp, scented with salt and the faint warmth of the steel hull, and the quiet is absolute, except for the soft lapping of waves against Titanic's hull. For a moment it feels as though the vast ocean and sky have claimed you, the grandeur of the ship itself somehow diminished by the infinite expanse around it. Turning your gaze eastward, the horizon is just beginning to lighten, a delicate gradient from deep navy to pale lavender. You walk slowly along the rail, each step measured, as if not to disturb the profound stillness. The faintest glimmer of sunlight begins to appear, a promise of a new day. The sensation is intoxicating. Freedom from formality, from obligations, from even the constant hum of conversation aboard. Here, in the cold, you are alone with the Atlantic, the Titanic's engines a distant heartbeat beneath your feet. The world feels simultaneously vast and intimate, the kind of moment that etches itself into memory. Maggie, following a pace behind you, murmurs softly, "It's like we've found the heart of the ocean, and it's just for us." You smile, sharing the quiet awe, each lost in your own reflections. The first shafts of sunlight are brushing the water, painting silver streaks across the waves. You pause, leaning lightly on the rail, feeling the gentle sway of the ship beneath you. The sun slowly ascends, spilling color across the horizon. Pale gold, rose and peach blending into the deepening blue of morning. A few birds glide near the ship, their calls distant and fragile against the vastness of sea and sky. Time seems suspended. Each second stretches luxuriously, the ordinary world reduced to insignificance against the spectacle of dawn and the endless ocean. The Titanic, magnificent and powerful, glides silently toward New York, carrying everyone on board into the new day. Finally, when the sun is fully risen and the chill of early morning begins to soften, you take a deep, fortifying breath, savoring the moment before returning to the warmth and bustle inside. But the image of the endless sea and the perfect sunrise remains, a quiet treasure to carry through the day's social whirl. You move deliberately through the quiet corridors, your footsteps echoing softly against the polished floors. The scent of fresh polish, sea air still lingering faintly through open portholes, and the distant warmth of the galley mingles into a subtle, comforting blend. The normally bustling grand staircase seems almost reverent in the early light, the chandeliers catching and scattering the dawn sun like trapped fragments of crystal. Peering into the first-class lounge, you notice the furniture still pristine, cushions plumped, and the rugs recently swept. The soft hum of the engines beneath you provides a constant, reassuring rhythm, reminding you of the colossal forces moving beneath the elegant surfaces. A lone steward passes by with a tray, offering a polite nod, and you realize this is a side of Titanic rarely witnessed. The ship in gentle preparation, her staff performing silent rituals before the first guests descend. You wander past the reading and writing rooms, noting the orderly rows of books, their spines gleaming faintly in the morning light. On a table by a window, a few early risers have begun their quiet routines. One man writing letters, another sketching the ship's profile, and a woman leafing through a newspaper. Their voices are hushed, respectful of the tranquil dawn. The promenade deck, open to the sea, tempts you again. Pulling your coat tighter, you step onto the deck where the chill is sharp but invigorating. The ocean, now fully revealed by the rising sun, stretches in boundless shades of blue, each wave catching the light differently. A few early walkers nod to each other in polite acknowledgement, the camaraderie of shared solitude apparent in their muted smiles. Walking slowly, you pause at the lifeboat rails, observing how the sunlight plays along the riveted steel of the ship's superstructure. Every detail, the polished brass, the taut ropes, the carefully aligned boats, reflects meticulous planning and relentless effort. In this moment, Titanic is not only a marvel of engineering but a living, breathing organism. Massive, purposeful, yet strangely delicate in its balance atop the Atlantic. You linger near the bow, watching the water part beneath the prow in a slow, deliberate wake. The Atlantic is deceptively calm, its surface a shifting mosaic of light and shadow. The wind carries the salt tang sharply, and for the first time you feel the immensity of the ship's scale relative to the endless sea surrounding it. Every rivet, every deck, every carefully considered detail seems to hum with life beneath your fingers as you run your gloved hand along the rail. Returning indoors, you notice the ship's quiet elegance in a new light. Sunlight spills through windows previously dimmed by curtains, illuminating the intricate woodwork and marble surfaces. The hallways, which yesterday teemed with purpose and protocol, now offer a sense of intimacy and grandeur, spaces to be appreciated without the orchestration of social expectation. By the time you finally make your way back to your stateroom, the ship has begun its morning routines in earnest. The murmur of voices, the clatter of breakfast service, and the occasional laugh signal the awakening of Titanic's human heart. You pause at your door, savoring the rare sense of serenity, knowing the day ahead will soon bring the familiar rhythm of first-class life, social calls, deck promenades, elaborate meals, and the ongoing ballet of passengers and crew alike. The dining saloon is filled with warm lamplight, soft reflections dancing across the polished wood and gleaming silver. Stewards move with quiet precision, serving courses with the ease of long practice, the clink of cutlery and murmur of conversation blending into a subdued symphony. Guests are relaxed, more reflective than the previous evening, and the pace of the meal allows for leisurely enjoyment rather than a strict adherence to ceremony. You notice how different the atmosphere feels compared to a weekday or celebratory dinner. People speak in softer tones, pauses between courses seem longer, and conversations meander gently from one topic to another. You and Maggie exchange observations about the ship's design, the elegance of the floral arrangements on each table, and the subtle artistry of the service. Occasionally a steward passes with a tray of petits fours or delicate pastries, their sweetness complementing the robust flavors of the main dishes. Afterwards, you linger in the palm court, a serene oasis in the center of the ship. The orchestra, smaller than the dinner quintet, plays soft classical pieces appropriate for a Sunday afternoon. The music floats lightly through the open spaces, the notes reflecting off the glass and marble in a delicate echo. Passengers sit in quiet clusters, reading newspapers, chatting softly, or simply watching the ocean roll by through the expansive windows. The sense of community aboard Titanic is more palpable today, yet tempered by the contemplative cadence of the Sabbath. By late afternoon, you take a walk on the promenade deck once more. The sun is lower now, casting long slanting rays across the railings and decks. There's a softness to the light that transforms the ship, highlighting textures and surfaces you hadn't noticed before. You watch as a few couples stroll arm in arm, children run lightly along the paths, and stewards prepare the decks for the evening. Even in the routine of movement and maintenance, there's a grace to every action, a choreography of order and care that underscores the ship's vastness and complexity. Dinner is slightly less formal than the previous evening, yet still sumptuous. You notice that passengers are more at ease, laughter comes more easily, and there's a sense that the routines of shipboard life are settling into comfortable patterns. Conversation ranges from the day's observations, books read, and music enjoyed, to the anticipation of the next day's activities. The evening passes with a gentle elegance, the interplay of food, music, and companionship sustaining the luxurious rhythm of the voyage. As the day winds down, you return to your stateroom with a renewed appreciation for Titanic, not only as a marvel of engineering and comfort, but as a vessel that provides a microcosm of society, a floating world where routines, relationships, and experiences are magnified against the grandeur of the Atlantic. The faint hum of engines and the gentle roll of the sea accompany you as you prepare for sleep, the patterns of the day echoing in your mind. Outside, the night deepens, promising another day of discovery, reflection, and subtle social intrigue aboard the magnificent ship. The night deepens outside your porthole, the stars gradually fading as the faint blush of dawn hints at the coming day. Inside your stateroom, the quiet hum of the engines continues its steady rhythm, a lullaby unique to life at sea. The electric heater casts a soft glow across the room, mingling with the lingering warmth of your hot chocolate. The linens embrace you with comforting coolness at first, then gradually warm to your body, the crispness and softness, a testament to the meticulous care of Emily's preparations. Your thoughts drift lazily through the tapestry of the past day, the delicate sunlight painting the decks at sunrise, the grandeur of the dining saloon and the dignified voices at church, the swirling steps of waltzes in the reception room, and finally the quiet majesty of the starlit Atlantic. Each memory settles around you like layers of warmth, a private mosaic of experiences aboard this magnificent vessel. The gentle rocking of the ship, imperceptible yet constant, becomes a rhythm that lulls your mind. The vibrations through the deck, the faint echo of distant voices and movement of stewards, all blend into a serene symphony, one only a passenger of Titanic could know. You feel the paradox of the voyage, the human mastery and luxury contained within this engineered palace, and yet the humbling enormity of the ocean that surrounds it. Sleep slowly draws you in, each breath aligning with the gentle sway of the liner. Your last conscious thought is gratitude for the comfort, for the wonders of the journey, and for this fleeting moment of suspended time aboard a ship that seems to contain the world within its decks. Outside, the Atlantic stretches endlessly, indifferent to the lives aboard. Yet for now, your universe is the Titanic, a floating kingdom of light, warmth, and quiet marvels. And as your eyes close, the ship moves steadily westward, engines humming, lights glowing, carrying you toward a horizon filled with possibilities, where the grandeur of human achievement sails hand in hand with the eternal majesty of the sea. Peace envelops you fully, as the Atlantic night wraps its quiet cloak around the greatest ocean liner ever built.